Time now for another edition of Ask the Sheriff. As is our new normal now, we're doing things a little bit differently. So conducting our interview today via Skype, we have Baldwin County Sheriff Huey Mack joining us. Haas, great to see you.
Good to see you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So this is the first time we've had a chance to talk since this pandemic kind of got started here. So I guess the first question, kind of general, but what has this meant for you and your department?
Well, of course, Joe, when the orders first came out from the governor in mid-March, that closed a lot of the public sections of our office, but all of our law enforcement functions have continued on, as well as operations of the jail. The other thing that was modified is the courts shut down all of their public operations, but the other operations within the courts have continued as well. So we're still continuing to handle things on a day-to-day basis. Our administrative staff is working probably about 2/3 of that staff right now, but all of our law enforcement and correction staff has been fully staffed and been working through this.
In regards to your staff working through this, we know that we want to keep those who protect us as safe as possible. What has taken place in terms of safety precautions for the sheriff deputies and all your employees that you have out and about?
Well, just like everybody else, education is the first thing. What are the symptoms? What are the signs? If you've been exposed to anybody that was symptomatic or that had to have a COVID test, or if they did test positive, we monitor all that through our Human Relations Division within the Sheriff's Office. And then we also look at the exposure to the inmates. That's a big concern when you're running a jail, particularly as large as the one we have here in Baldwin County with a 650-bed capacity. So we have to make sure that not only are we protecting the health of the inmates, but also the corrections officers, because there's a constant ebb and flow in your jail population, people coming back and forth. So we've been monitoring that as well. Currently, we have had several employees with the Sheriff's Office who have had to be tested. We've also had several inmates that we have had tested, but as of today, we have had no positive test.
Well, that's great news to hear that it's going so well so far. We all know that can change, but that is good news, Haas. Let's talk a little bit about something that's specific to Baldwin County, and that is just the abundance of beaches, a place where people usually gather, usually come to celebrate, have a good time, get together with one another. We know the beaches have been shut down. What has it meant to try to enforce this shutdown of the beaches?
Well, in the early days, of course, there was some discussion about the difference between a private beach and a public beach. And in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, in those two cities, they are different. Gulf Shores actually owns a portion of their beach, so it belongs to the city of Gulf Shores. And in Orange Beach, most of that beach belongs to the state. And then you have an area between Gulf Shores and the Fort Morgan Peninsula that is owned by the state as well, and that's covered by the county. So there's actually 3 different bodies that kind of oversee that nearly 70 miles of beach that we have in Baldwin County. But early on, all 3 entities, the mayors of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach and our county commission, agreed, and then the governor came with her order to go ahead and declare all the beaches closed, whether they were public or private. And that effect actually went into effect about the second week of spring break. So it was a little bit difficult the first few days. We did have 2 or 3 days that this announcement came out. It gave people time to prepare. It's been in place since then, and I will say that it's been 95% compliance. Most of what we have are people that are still walking out on the beach, are people that are still coming here. They know that we're in some type of a shutdown, but they still had reservations. Some of them are still coming here. So it's a constant educational process, just letting people know that they can't be on the beach during this time.
Last question for today, Sheriff. If there's one message you want to get out or deliver to the public, or something you want them to know during this time, I guess what would that be?
Everything is working. All the leaders, both in the local, the state, and the federal government, have done an extremely good job in working together. Our information sharing and the data that we're sharing is so much more improved over the past 2 weeks than it had when we first started this process. So the stay at home, the 10 crowd gathering, Staying 6 feet apart is making a difference. It is working. We are seeing significant downturns right now. So even though it looks like we can see that finish line where we think this might be over as far as some of the restrictions, we still have to be diligent. If anything, we have to be more diligent now because we know what we are doing is working. So we encourage people, stay at home, only get out if you're an essential worker or if you have an essential need. Let's finish this together. We're going to be fine, but we'll get through this a lot quicker if everybody will comply to those rules.
That's a great message there, Sheriff. Thank you so much for sharing it. Stay safe yourself, and we hope that sometime in the near future, we'll see you back here in the studio soon.
Look forward to it.
All right, so that was taped a short time ago as well, and we are continuing to monitor any updates regarding when Alabama will reopen following the governor's protocols, her announcements and stuff, and that will change some of the things that were discussed there. Of course, we'll bring that all to you here on Fox 10 News.